Sales EQ: How ultra-high performers leverage sales-specific emotional intelligence to close the complex deal, by Jeb Blount. Introduction. Imagine a young salesman, just 23 years old, named Art. He's smart, he's driven, but he's hit a wall. He's been working for weeks on a deal with a local bakery, run by an old-school owner, a Mr. Kolesi. Everything was going smoothly until the price came up. Mr. Kolesi was adamant. "Your rates are too high," he said, his arms crossed, a stubborn look on his face. "Your competitors are way lower. We don't have anything more to talk about." Art tried everything. He talked about value, about quality, about service. Nothing worked. He was getting nowhere. Frustrated, he went to his sales manager, a company legend named Joe. Joe was the kind of guy who seemed ancient to a 23-year-old, a man who had seen it all and knew the answer to every question. Art explained the situation, probably with more heat than he should have. "Joe, this deal is stalled. Our prices are just too high. I'm never going to sell anything." Joe didn't flinch. He just stood up and said 2 words, "Come on." They walked out to Joe's car, and he drove them to a local grocery store. He told Art to wait, and a few minutes later, he came out carrying a simple brown paper bag. He tossed it in the back seat, and they drove off, straight to the Kolesi Baking Company. The whole time, Joe barely said a word, the mysterious brown bag sitting on his lap. They sat down across from Mr. Kolesi's desk. Joe, calm and relaxed, started the conversation. He acknowledged that Art felt their rates were a bit too high and said he came down to learn more. Mr. Kolesi wasn't having it. "Save your breath," he said. "I've heard it all before. All you truck companies are the same. If you can't get your prices in line, we're done." Joe, completely unfazed, placed the brown bag on the desk. He slowly unfolded the top and pulled out 2 loaves of bread. One was a generic, 63-cent loaf of supermarket white bread. The other was a beautiful, $1.87 loaf of Kolesi Italian bread. Joe placed them side by side. He let the silence hang in the air for a moment, and then he asked a simple question. "Mr. Kolesi, what's the difference? What makes your bread worth 3 times as much?" Something shifted in Mr. Kolesi. He shot up from his chair, his eyes on fire with passion. For the next 10 minutes, he lectured them on why his bread was better. He talked about the fresh, high-quality ingredients, his family's secret recipe, the unique baking process, the history of his company, and the taste. The taste was so much better than that mass-produced cardboard. When he finally sat back down, breathless but proud, Joe leaned forward. He picked up the loaf of Kolesi bread, held it in his hands, and said, "Mr. Kolesi, that's exactly what we've been trying to tell you about us. We are the Kolesi bread of truck leasing." For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then, a huge grin spread across Mr. Kolesi's face, and he let out a big, booming laugh. He reached out and shook Joe's hand. The deal was done. What just happened there? That wasn't a sales tactic. That was a masterclass in human psychology. It's the very heart of what we're going to explore today. What if I told you that the secret to becoming an unstoppable force in sales, and truly, in any part of life where you need to connect with people, has almost nothing to do with what you sell, and everything to do with how you make people feel? Today, we're diving into a remarkable book called Sales EQ by Jeb Blount. This isn't just another book about sales techniques. This is a deep exploration into the psychology of selling, a guide to understanding the emotional intelligence that separates the good from the legendary, By the end of our time together, you will understand why the highest earning, most successful people in the world don't just sell a product, they sell an emotional experience. And you'll have the key to unlocking that power for yourself. Book summary. Let's be honest. The world of sales, and really, the world in general, is in the middle of what Jeb Blount calls a perfect storm. Think about it. Today, buyers have all the power. They have more information at their fingertips than ever before, more tools to compare you to everyone else, and frankly, less patience. They don't want to be pitched. They don't want to listen to a long list of features and benefits. They expect more. At the same time, technology has made it so easy for competitors to pop up that, to the buyer, everyone starts to look the same. Differentiating your product or your service is harder than it has ever been. To the customer, a truck is a truck is a truck. This is where so many people get stuck. They believe that if they just had a better product, a lower price, or a slicker presentation, they would win. They operate under the delusion that buyers are rational creatures who make logical decisions based on spreadsheets and data. But Jeb Blount pulls back the curtain on a profound and simple truth. That's not how the human mind works at all. People act on emotion and justify with logic. Let that sink in for a moment. From the biggest, multi-million-dollar corporate deals to deciding which mattress to buy, emotions are the engine driving the decision. The logic comes later, to help us feel good about the choice we already made in our heart. Think about Michelle, the woman shopping for a mattress. She found the exact one she wanted at the first store, at a great price. But she didn't buy it. Why? Because there was just something about the salesman, Ray, that she didn't like. So she drove across town and bought the same mattress from another salesperson, Gwen, for more money. Why? Because Gwen made her feel good. Gwen cared. Was that a logical decision? Absolutely not. It was purely emotional. This is the central idea of sales EQ. Ultra-high performers, the top 1% who seem to operate on a different level, understand this instinctively. They know that the emotional experience of buying from them is far more important than the products, prices, or features they're selling. They don't just sell a solution, they sell a feeling. So, how do they do it? It's not magic. It's a specific kind of intelligence. Blount breaks down the toolkit of a master performer into 4 levels of intelligence. First, you have your innate intelligence IQ. This is how smart you are, what you're born with. It's important, no doubt. Smart people are curious, they learn quickly, and they can see the big picture. Second is acquired intelligence A. This is what you learn. It's the knowledge you gain from books, training, and experience. A is what makes your IQ useful. Ultra-high performers have an insatiable thirst for knowledge. They are always learning, always growing. Third is technological intelligence TQ. This is your ability to use technology, your computer, your phone, all the software, to make your life easier and more efficient. In today's world, you can't afford to be not a computer person. But here's the key. You can have a high IQ, a massive AC, and be a wizard with TQ, and still be average. Because the fourth intelligence is the one that amplifies all the others. It's emotional intelligence EQ. More specifically, Blount introduces us to the concept of sales EQ. This is the ability to perceive, understand, and effectively manage your own emotions, while also being able to interpret and influence the emotions of other people, all within the context of a sales conversation. This is the rocket fuel. It's what allows you to connect with people on a deep, human level. Because in a world where everything looks the same, the one thing you can offer that no one else can is you. The experience of dealing with you. And that experience is built on 4 powerful pillars of sales EQ. The first, and most foundational pillar, is empathy. Empathy is the ability to step into someone else's shoes and see the world from their perspective, to feel what they are feeling. It's not about agreeing with them, it's about understanding them. Think of Shell, the salesperson in the high-end jewelry market. She often works with young couples shopping for engagement rings. The bride-to-be is dreaming of a massive diamond, and the young man is stressed, trying to make her dream come true while secretly terrified he can't afford it. An average salesperson might push the expensive ring, trying to maximize their commission. But Shell is different. She has empathy. She can feel the young man's stress and anxiety. So what does she do? She changes the conversation. She asks them about their future together, their honeymoon, buying a home, their plans. Then, she recommends a ring that fits their lifestyle, one that won't burden them with debt. She tells the young man, "I'm on your side," and his stress melts away. She tells the bride she can always trade up for a bigger ring later, keeping the dream alive while allowing her to make a rational decision. Does she close the sale? Almost every time. But more than that, she creates customers for life who send all their friends to her. That's the power of empathy. It's about being other-focused, not self-focused. Now, it's important to know where you stand on the empathy scale. Some people are naturally hyper-empathetic, while others, especially competitive, driven people, might be more self-centric. That's okay. Blount's point is that empathy can be intentional. You can make a conscious choice to be curious about other people, to listen deeply, and to try to understand their world. The second pillar of sales EQ is self-awareness. This is the mother of high EQ. It's the ability to look in the mirror and see yourself for who you really are, your strengths, your weaknesses, your emotional blind spots, and how your communication style impacts others. This is incredibly difficult. Our minds love the warm comfort of delusion more than the cold truth of reality. Ultra-high performers are not perfect. Far from it. But they are intensely aware of their imperfections. They know their shortcomings and they actively work on them. So how do you develop this kind of awareness? Blount gives us a few keys. One is to take psychometric assessments, like DISC-A or Myers-Briggs, to understand your natural communication style. Are you a direct, get-to-the-point director, or maybe a data-driven, methodical analyzer? Perhaps you're a high-energy storytelling socializer, or a steady, people-pleasing consensus builder. There's no good or bad style, but when you know your own, you can learn to flex it to better connect with people who are different from you. Another key is to actively seek feedback. Ask your manager, a mentor, or a trusted colleague for their honest assessment of your performance and your style. It can be painful to hear, but you can't change what you can't see. And one of the most powerful tools is simply self-reflection. Taking just 20 minutes a day to sit in silence, to think about your day, your interactions, your goals. This practice allows you to notice the weeds in your life, the bad habits or negative thought patterns, before they grow and choke out your success. The third pillar is self-control. This is where the rubber meets the road. Sales is an emotional profession. You face rejection, frustration, and pressure constantly. These situations trigger what are called disruptive emotions: fear, anger, impatience, insecurity, desperation. These emotions are the #1 reason salespeople fail. They hijack our rational brain and cause us to make terrible decisions. Think about Sam Scaraga's father, the founder of All-Star Glass. He was in a sales call with a fleet manager who was loyal to another company. When the meeting ended, he offered the manager a few branded sticky notepads. The manager grabbed them and slammed them into the trash can. Now, Imagine the wave of anger and humiliation that must have washed over him. His business was his passion. He was working 24/7 just to keep the lights on. An average person would have exploded. But he didn't. He managed that disruptive emotion. He kept his cool, looked the guy in the eye, and said, "I admire your loyalty. I wish all my customers were as loyal as you." The fleet manager was caught completely off guard. He ended up apologizing, and eventually, they earned his business. That is the power of self-control. Most of our disruptive emotions come from our brain's ancient fight or flight response. When our brain perceives a threat, and in sales, that threat is usually social, like the fear of rejection or looking bad in front of others, it floods our body with adrenaline and cortisol. Our heart races, our palms sweat, and the blood drains from our rational brain, the neocortex. We literally can't think straight. We either fight, argue with a customer, or flee, give up too easily. So how do you gain control? The first step is awareness. Know your emotional triggers. What situations or people set you off? The second is to simply push pause. When you feel that emotional wave coming, take a deep breath. Count to 5. That tiny pause is often all your rational brain needs to catch up and take back control from your emotional brain. Blount calls this the magic quarter second. Another powerful technique is to focus on what you really want. When a customer is screaming at you, you might want to scream back. But ask yourself, do I want to be right, or do I want to keep this customer? That simple question can shift your entire perspective and allow you to rise above the emotion and choose your behavior. And that brings us to the fourth and final pillar, sales drive. Let's be real, sales is a grind. It's a tough, grueling profession with unrelenting pressure to perform. To not just survive but thrive, you need an unquenchable inner fire. Blount identifies 3 core components of this drive. First is optimism. This is the belief that you are supposed to and will win. It's the faith that leads to achievement. It's what allows you to bounce back from adversity and keep going. Second is competitiveness. This isn't just about loving to win, it's about hating to lose. This is the fuel that keeps you working harder and longer than anyone else. And third is the need for achievement. This is that intense, deep-seated desire to accomplish something difficult, to work with a single purpose toward a distant goal. While some part of this drive is innate, a huge part of it is a choice. It's a mindset you can cultivate. It starts with taking 100% responsibility for your life and understanding there are only 3 things you can control: your actions, your reactions, and your mindset. You build this drive by choosing your friends carefully, managing your self-talk, and protecting your physical energy through exercise, sleep, and healthy eating. So we have these 4 pillars: empathy, self-awareness, self-control, and sales drive. This is the foundation of sales EQ. But how do you apply it? How do you take this inner mastery and use it to navigate the real world of selling? It starts by understanding that you're not just following one process, you're aligning 3. First, there's the sales process. This is your company's playbook, the linear, logical steps you follow from prospecting to closing. It's important, but it's only 1/3 of the equation. Second, there's the buying process. This is your customer's process, the formal or informal steps they take to vet a vendor and make a purchase. An average salesperson becomes a puppet to the buyer's process. They dance when they're told to dance, sending proposals into the void and hoping for the best. But an ultra-high performer is different. They don't just follow the buying process, they shape it. They get there first, building relationships long before a decision is on the table, helping to write the rules of the game. Or, if they get in late, they use leverage. They know what the customer needs: information, a competitive bid, And they trade that value for access and influence, reshaping the process to their advantage. But the real secret, the place where all the magic happens, is in the third process, the decision process. The sales and buying processes are organizational and logical. The decision process is individual, emotional, non-linear, and often completely irrational. It's the personal journey each stakeholder takes in their own mind as they decide whether or not to commit to you. This is where strategy, logic, and human emotion collide. And this is where sales EQ becomes your ultimate weapon. Because to influence that messy, emotional decision process, you have to answer 5 simple but profound questions that every single stakeholder is asking about you, whether they realize it or not. These are the 5 questions that matter most in sales. The first question is, do I like you? It sounds simple, almost childish, but it's the gateway to everything else. People buy from people they like. Likability happens in an instant, a snap judgment made in the subconscious. It's about your smile, your voice tone, your appearance, your politeness. But more than anything, it's about one behavior that most salespeople get wrong. They talk instead of listen. The fastest way to become unlikable is to pitch slap someone, to show up and throw up all over them with your features and benefits. No one likes being pitched. Ultra-high performers resist this urge. They make the other person the center of attention. They understand that we tend to like people who seem to like us, and the best way to show you like someone is to be genuinely interested in them. The second question is, do you listen to me? This is the #1 complaint buyers have about salespeople. They don't listen. And they're right. We live in a world where everyone is screaming to be heard, but nobody is listening. Listening is hard. It requires you to turn off that constant chatter in your own head, to fight the urge to interrupt, and to give someone your complete, undivided attention. But when you truly listen, something incredible happens. You activate what researchers call the self-disclosure loop. When people talk about themselves, their brain releases a little shot of dopamine, the same chemical associated with pleasure from food, money, and love. It feels good. So they talk more, which releases more dopamine, and they feel even better. They start to feel an emotional connection to you, not because of anything you said, but because of how you made them feel by simply listening to their story. The third question is, do you make me feel important? The most insatiable human need is the need for significance. We all want to feel that we matter. The greatest gift you can give another person is to make them feel important. How do you do that? You use their name. You remember small details about them. You give sincere compliments. You ask for their advice. And, of course, you listen to them. When you give this gift, you trigger another powerful psychological principle, the law of reciprocity. When someone gives us something of value, we feel a deep, subconscious obligation to give something back. By making a stakeholder feel important, you create a feeling of obligation. This makes it far more likely that they will repay your gift by giving you what you ask for, their time, information, or their business. The fourth question is, do you get me and my problems? In today's age of transparency, every company's website, brochure, and sales pitch looks and sounds the same. The only way to truly differentiate yourself is to prove that you understand your stakeholders' unique world. Every person believes their situation is special. When you show up with a generic, one-size-fits-all pitch, you're sending a loud and clear message: I don't get you. I haven't taken the time to understand you. Ultra-high performers are different. They invest the time to do their research. They walk the factory floor. They ask deep, thoughtful questions. They learn their customers' language, the jargon, the acronyms, the specific ways they talk about their challenges. Then, they build a bridge. A bridge is a way of connecting your solution to their specific problem in their language. It follows a simple three-step framework. First, you state the problem as they described it to you. Second, you make a personalized recommendation. And third, you paint a vivid picture of the planned result, the better future they will experience by following your recommendation. This isn't a pitch, it's a personalized blueprint that proves you were listening and that you truly get them. And finally, the fifth and most crucial question: do I trust and believe you? Trust is everything. Without it, relationships collapse, deals stall, and objections become impossible to overcome. Stakeholders come into every sales conversation with a lifetime of emotional baggage about salespeople. They are suspicious of your motives. You don't earn trust with one grand gesture. You earn it one brick at a time, through consistency. You build what Stephen R. Covey called an emotional bank account. You make deposits by keeping your promises, showing up on time, being prepared, listening, and doing the right thing, over and over again. Little things, like returning a phone call promptly or having a clean, error-free proposal, make a huge difference, because they are tangible proof that your words and your actions are aligned. Trust is the ultimate weapon against the status quo. People are naturally afraid of change. The status quo, even if it's painful, feels safer than the unknown. Trust is the only thing powerful enough to overcome that fear and give someone the courage to take a leap of faith with you. When you can confidently say that you have answered all 5 of these questions with a resounding yes, for every stakeholder, something amazing happens. Asking for the business is no longer a scary, high-pressure moment. It becomes the natural, easy, and anticlimactic final step in a journey you've taken together. You haven't closed them. You've simply earned the right to ask. This is the path of the ultra-high performer. It's not about being slick or manipulative. It's about being deeply human. It's about mastering your own emotions so that you can connect with and serve the emotions of others. That is the essence of sales EQ. Commentary. As we step back and look at the landscape Jeb Blount paints in Sales EQ, what strikes me most is how this book transcends the world of sales. At its core, this isn't really a book about selling products. It's a book about human connection. It's a guide to understanding the invisible forces, the emotions, the biases, the deep-seated needs that shape every single one of our interactions. The most powerful lesson, for me, is the radical shift in perspective from being self-focused to being other-focused. We are all, by nature, the heroes of our own story. We spend most of our day thinking about ourselves, our goals, our problems. The disruptive idea in Sales EQ is that true influence, true success, comes when we consciously decide to make the other person the hero of the story. When you stop trying to be interesting and instead focus on being interested, the entire dynamic of a relationship changes. When you make it your mission to listen, to understand, to make another person feel important and heard, you give them a gift that is incredibly rare in our noisy, distracted world. That gift builds a bridge of trust that is more powerful than any feature, benefit, or price point. Blount's framework of the 5 questions: do I like you? Do you listen to me? Do you make me feel important? Do you get me and my problems? Do I trust and believe you? Is more than a sales checklist. It's a blueprint for any healthy, influential relationship, whether you're a leader trying to inspire your team, a parent trying to connect with your child, or a friend trying to offer support. The principles are universal. So, how can you start putting this into practice today? Let me offer just a couple of simple actions. First, for the next week, go into every single conversation, whether it's with a customer, a colleague, or a family member, with one primary goal: to listen more than you speak. Make a conscious effort to ask open-ended questions and then just be quiet. Fight that powerful urge to interrupt, to tell your own story, or to offer a solution. Just listen. See what you discover. Notice how it makes the other person feel, and notice how it changes the quality of the connection. Second, practice intentional empathy before your next important meeting. Take 5 minutes and think about the person you're going to be speaking with. Step into their shoes. What are they worried about? What does success look like for them? What pressures are they under? By simply considering their world before you enter it, you'll naturally shift from a mindset of "what can I get?" to "how can I serve?" That shift, though small, will change everything. That was a summary of Sales EQ by Jeb Blount. We've certainly touched on the big ideas today, but I hope you can feel that this is more than just a collection of tactics. It's a deep, thoughtful philosophy on how to navigate the human world with integrity and influence. A summary like this can give you the map, but it can't take you on the journey. The real transformation happens when you immerse yourself in the stories and the lessons firsthand. If any of the ideas we discussed today sparked something in you, a curiosity, a recognition of a pattern in your own life, I wholeheartedly encourage you to pick up a copy. Reading it isn't just about becoming a better salesperson, it's about becoming a more perceptive, empathetic, and influential human being. The link to the book is in the description. Also, if you found this summary valuable and it gave you something to think about, please do me a small favor and hit that subscribe button. It tells us we're on the right track and ensures you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book. Let's keep learning and growing together.